Imagine a world where the line between fiction and reality blurs, where secrets are lurking in the shadows, and the truth is often stranger than the wildest imagination. What if I told you that some of the most unbelievable conspiracy theories whispered in hushed tones turned out to be chillingly true? From covert government operations that manipulated entire populations to shocking revelations that rocked nations to their core, we're diving deep into the murky waters of deception and intrigue. Get ready to uncover the top 10 foreign conspiracy theories that were once dismissed as mere fantasy, but later emerged as undeniable truths. Now, before we get started, remember, just because these particular theories were proven correct doesn't mean every conspiracy theory out there is true. Always approach these topics with a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking. All right, let's dive in. Number 10, the Iran-Contra affair. This scandal is one of the most infamous in American presidential history. It began when Ronald Reagan, during his campaign, made secret deals with Iran to postpone the release of American hostages, hoping to undermine Jimmy Carter in the 1980 election. Surprisingly, this connection with Iran continued into Reagan's presidency. In 1985, Iran reached out to the U.S. seeking weapons, but they had a complicated relationship with Hezbollah in Lebanon, who were holding American hostages at that time. Reagan was determined to secure the release of these hostages. He urged his advisors to do whatever was necessary to ensure their safe return, famously stating he wanted them to keep body and soul together. The Reagan administration thought they found a clever solution. They could secretly sell arms to Iran in exchange for the hostages, despite Reagan's public stance against negotiating with terrorists and the existing trade embargo on Iran. But the plot didn't stop there. The money from these arms sales could be sent to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua, who were fighting to overthrow a socialist government that the U.S. opposed. However, the details of this covert operation eventually leaked to the public. At first, Reagan denied any wrongdoing, but he later had to come clean about the whole affair. This scandal would leave a lasting mark on his presidency and American politics. Number 9. Naira's 1990 testimony. When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, many people began calling for the United States to take military action against Iraq. However, President George H.W. Bush knew he needed public support before moving forward. Early in the crisis, he believed that force would ultimately be necessary, and that belief was fueled by the powerful testimony of a young girl named Naira. At just 15 years old, Naira claimed to have witnessed terrible human rights abuses committed by Iraqi soldiers against her fellow Kuwaitis. She stated, "What I saw happen to the children of Kuwait and to my country has changed my life forever, just as it has changed the lives of all Kuwaitis, young and old." Her emotional testimony spread throughout the nation, and President Bush repeated her claims over and over to rally support for action to liberate Kuwait, which he achieved in less than a month. However, a shocking truth emerged. Naira was actually the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to the U.S., and her testimony was part of a propaganda effort designed to sway public opinion. While Naira and her friends were handing out flyers to protest the Iraqi invasion, they were warned that their lives were in danger. The entire situation was orchestrated by a public relations firm with the help of influential politicians. Those who had suspected something was amiss were ultimately proven right, revealing the complex web of manipulation behind the push for war. Number 8. Operation Valkyrie. On July 20, 1944, a moment that could have changed the course of history unfolded when Army officer Klaus von Stauffenberg entered a conference room at Hitler's military headquarters, known as the Wolf's Lair. This was the culmination of a plot that had been brewing since 1932, with more than 20 attempts on Adolf Hitler's life, often highlighted by Tom Cruise's film Valkyrie. The most famous of these attempts was the July 20th plot, where Stauffenberg and other members of the German resistance planned to assassinate Hitler during a meeting. With a bomb secretly planted in the bunker, Stauffenberg told his colleague, General Friedrich Olbricht, that he needed to make a phone call and stepped out of the room. The bomb exploded, but shockingly, Hitler survived the blast, largely due to a fortunate twist of fate. The second phase of Operation Valkyrie aimed to dismantle Hitler's inner circle and take control of the military. Unfortunately, this part of the plan also failed, leading to the arrest and execution of many conspirators. Despite their brave efforts to end the tyranny of Hitler's regime, the plot ultimately ended in tragedy, leaving the world to wonder what might have been. Number 7. The Lavin Affair. In the shadowy world of espionage, the Lavin Affair stands out as a gripping tale of deceit and failed ambitions. In 1954, Israel orchestrated a covert operation known as Operation Susanna, which aimed to create tension between Egypt and the United States and Britain. Israeli intelligence recruited Egyptian Jews to carry out a dangerous plan. They were instructed to plant bombs in civilian areas like movie theaters, libraries, and American schools. The idea behind this scheme was simple, yet sinister. The bombs were set to explode after the locations closed, minimizing the risk of casualties. The goal was to pin the blame on local militant groups, such as communists or the Muslim Brotherhood, thereby provoking a crisis that would compel the British to continue their occupation of the Suez Canal. However, the operation failed spectacularly before it could even take off. Several conspirators were arrested, and the plot was exposed, leaving behind a cautionary tale about the lengths to which nations might go to manipulate public perception and international relations. The Lavin Affair serves as a stark reminder of the dangerous game of false flags and the unintended consequences that can arise from such schemes. Number 6. Money laundering and terrorism financing at BCCI. In the world of banking, few stories are as shocking as that of the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, or BCCI. Founded in the early 1970s by Pakistani financiers, BCCI aimed to provide an alternative to Western banks for developing countries, promoting an anti-colonial mission to break down financial barriers. It even drew in prominent Americans, including President Jimmy Carter, to encourage foreign governments to deposit their funds in the bank. However, behind its noble facade, BCCI was nothing more than a massive Ponzi scheme designed to enrich its executives. The bank became notorious for engaging in extensive money laundering, serving as the go-to institution for dictators and criminals around the globe. Its secret client list read like a who's who of the world's most notorious figures. Leaders from Iraq, Panama, and the Philippines all used BCCI to conceal their money, alongside Latin American drug lords. BCCI's operations created a blueprint for modern international money laundering, leaving a lasting mark on the banking industry. By the time it was shut down, the bank had siphoned off nearly $10 billion, making it one of the largest bank frauds in history. The story of BCCI serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unregulated banking and the dark side of financial systems. Number 5. Colombia's FASO. This poster symbolizes the tragic story of 6,402 so-called false positives, innocent people wrongfully labeled as terrorists. In the dangerous regions of eastern Colombia and western Venezuela, gangs and guerrillas have long held power, leaving residents in constant fear of violence and torture. For years, the Colombian military fought against FARC guerrillas, claiming significant victories as they pushed back against this insurgency. However, these triumphs were overshadowed by chilling rumors of government abuses dating back to the late 1980s. In 2015, those rumors were tragically confirmed. Investigations revealed that the Colombian military had kidnapped and murdered thousands of innocent men and boys. They would then dress these victims in guerrilla uniforms and falsely report them as enemy combatants killed in action, all to bolster their image in the ongoing war on drugs. The families of those who lost loved ones were devastated and pointed their fingers at the president at the time, Álvaro Uribe, demanding accountability for these horrific acts. This dark chapter in Colombia's history serves as a sobering reminder of the consequences of war and the lengths to which some may go to achieve their goals. Number 4. Unit 731. Unit 731 is one of the darkest secrets of the 20th century. During World War II, Imperial Japan committed horrific acts that rivaled those of Nazi Germany. It wasn't until 1988 that Japan finally admitted to the existence and the crimes of this covert unit, which conducted inhumane medical experiments in Harbin, China. Even today, the atmosphere in that area is thick with the pain and suffering endured during that time. Originally, Unit 731 claimed to be focused on public health research, but the reality was far more sinister. They operated in secrecy, pushing the boundaries of human cruelty. The unit used Chinese and Russian prisoners of war for testing biological, chemical, and conventional weapons. Disturbingly, it has also been reported that they experimented on thousands of Chinese civilians. The list of atrocities committed by Unit 731 is too horrific to fully describe. In the aftermath of the war, the United States even helped to cover up some of these crimes, choosing to utilize the research findings from the unit's experiments. This dark chapter serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity in the name of science and war. Number 3. Bear medicine spreads AIDS. A whole generation of hemophiliacs was devastated by a tragic scandal that many still want answers about. Bayer Pharmaceuticals is widely recognized for its aspirin, but like many large pharmaceutical companies, it ventured into other areas of medicine. In the 1980s, one of their key products was a blood clotting factor designed for people with hemophilia. However, this product had a serious flaw that broke federal laws in the United States. Bayer secretly sourced blood donations from prisoners and intravenous drug users, which led to the contamination of their clotting factor with HIV. When the company became aware of the contamination, rather than warning the public, they chose to resolve the issue in the US and quietly sold the contaminated product to countries in Latin America, Europe, and Asia. They were determined to profit from a product that they could no longer sell in America, and in doing so, they infected over 20,000 innocent people with the virus. The consequences were devastating, with at least 3,000 individuals in the UK losing their lives due to this negligence. The impact on families and communities was profound, and many, like one 14-year-old boy who was told he had just 2 years to live, were left searching for answers. This dark chapter in pharmaceutical history raises serious questions about ethics and responsibility in the quest for profit. Number 2. Operation Condor. It's a painful reality that much of the chaos we see in Latin America today can be traced back to U.S. interference in the 20th century. The victims of this intervention included Argentines, Uruguayans, Bolivians, Chileans, and Cubans. At the heart of this dark chapter was Operation Condor, which was orchestrated by the CIA to stem the rise of socialism in the region. During this time, the United States supported right-wing coups in several countries, including Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Peru. Military dictatorships took control and used any means necessary to eliminate what they saw as a communist threat. Over the course of 2 decades, these right-wing forces, sometimes with fascist ties, received covert financial and military backing from the U.S. The tactics used were ruthless, involving assassinations, coups, and terrorist plots, all in the name of fighting communism and socialism. Historians estimate that around 50,000 people lost their lives due to these operations, while tens of thousands more vanished without a trace, and hundreds of thousands were imprisoned. This period remains a haunting reminder of the lengths some governments will go to maintain power and suppress dissent. Number 1. The Gulf of Tonkin Incident. In August 1964, tensions were at an all-time high between North Vietnam and the United States. The USS Maddox, an American destroyer, had engaged and sunk 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. This incident set the stage for what would soon unfold. Just 2 days later, the U.S. government claimed there was a second attack on the Maddox, an event that would come to be known as the Gulf of Tonkin Incident. President Lyndon B. Johnson used this alleged attack as a reason to escalate U.S. involvement in Vietnam, ultimately leading to the Vietnam War. The Gulf of Tonkin incident is often described as a casus belli, or a justification for war based on misleading or false information. In reality, many later reports indicated that the second attack might not have happened at all. In fact, U.S. forces saw no evidence of North Vietnamese boats in the area. They were reportedly all in port. Despite this, the decision to engage in Vietnam resulted in a long, costly war that claimed the lives of tens of thousands of soldiers and civilians, raising questions about the motivations behind U.S. involvement. This incident serves as a chilling reminder of how misinformation can lead to devastating consequences. If you have thoughts on other foreign conspiracies or events, feel free to share in the comments below. Remember, sometimes the truth is harder to face than we think. Check out the other clips from MindQuest Academy, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.